All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that is actually the case. Of course, I have to refresh on Rumble 15 seconds from now. We've got a busy news day today. We've got lots of shit to cover. Of course, co-host Kitty here, getting impatient, wanting more pettings. I've got all my tabs open right. Just give me a moment. Yeah, we got a lot to cover today. I think I might have left one out accidentally here. Yeah, whatever, who cares? We'll make sure we're live on Rumble. Yes, indeed, we are live, and chat is working, of course. Just a second. Yeah, Kitty. It'd be funny, I just stream, but I'm just sitting here mumbling to myself for an entire hour or something. That'd be funny. Anyway, we're going to get right into the news because we do have unfortunate and big news first. Links in the description if you want to follow along. Also, there is a link pinned at the top of YouTube's chat, as well as in the description, both on YouTube and Rumble. We are currently annexing the nation of Jordan over on Pixel Planet, so you can help out and continue that yellow and red tiling if you want to. That's today's goal. We repulsed the invaders in the Sinai Peninsula, more or less. They seem to have quit, realizing they were out of their league. U.S. troops checking Ukraine weapons delivery sites against theft threat. Washington. The U.S. is sending forces to inspect American military aid delivery sites in Ukraine and keep lethal weapons off the black market, the Pentagon said Tuesday. It's the first time U.S. forces have set foot outside the confines of Kiev embassy, which has been guarded by Marines since American diplomats returned in May after fleeing the city ahead of Russia's invasion. And I'm thinking to myself, and I made a video about this morning. First, what a rebuke of the Ukrainians when you have to continuously check to make sure the weapons aren't being sold on the black market. We did have incidents of that. People were selling missiles and rocket launchers and shit like that on the dark web. And I guess they decided that there was enough of this particular theft that they had to step in. So now we're sending troops into an area that is effectively an invaded war zone. The delivery sites are not maybe in the Russian-controlled area, but anything can get hit by Russian rockets at any given time. And it's an escalation that we don't need. First and foremost, as an anti-war individual, of course, I oppose any escalatory rhetoric or action within the region, including by the Russians. Let's not be fucking lopsided here. That's number one. Number two, are you not effectively claiming that the Ukrainian regime is corrupt? I mean, we know it is. For years, we had stories about that prior to the Russian invasion. Are you not? Is that not a rebuke of Zelensky and his ability to make sure that everything is going smoothly? That U.S. troops now, and the logistics must be expensive, of course, in this, because there are, Russian missiles hitting targets and so forth. Is this not a rebuke of the Zelensky regime by the West at large? Also, could Vladimir Putin not use this as some sort of propaganda? So we can say, look, the Americans started arming the Ukrainians. That's an act of war. Now they've got actual troops, armed individuals from their military, milling about in Ukraine. And could he not claim plausibly, at least to his own people, hey, the Americans have basically invaded Ukraine. Look, our war is justified, so rally up. Of course, he's going to use it for diplomatic leverage. It'll get condemned, this particular move, by the Eastern Bloc. It'll help solidify them in their belief that Russia's right and that the invasion of Ukraine is justified. It'll get used as propaganda. Be very, very interesting. The checks are used by the Defense and State Departments to track U.S.-provided weaponry and ensure the more than $18 billion worth of military aid Washington has pledged Ukraine does not end up in the wrong hands, Pentagon spokesman Air Force Brigadier General Patrick Ryder said. We have no indication that there has been any type of illicit spread of the capabilities that we provided to the Ukrainians and are being used effectively on the battlefield, Ryder said, adding that the service members are being kept far away from any type of frontline action. So you're deploying the weapons deep in the west of Ukraine. That's wonderful. Missiles can go quite a distance. If there is no evidence that there's the illicit spread of weaponry, number one, why do you need to do the checks? And number two, why are we seeing weapons marketed literally on the black market? Because we know that that's happened. That was a big story last month. Why are you claiming that there's no evidence of illicit spread of these weapons? We know that it actually happened. We know because we saw postings on the internet. Hey, you want this anti-tank rocket? 200 grand and it can be yours off of eBay or whatever it was. Mungi, I'm hearing people downplay that the current recession, claiming it's not as bad as '08. Given the difference in inflation, seems we are unemployment or housing market away from being worse. Your take? It's not as bad as the Great Recession as far as markets overall. As far as inflation, though, you didn't really see that as much in the Great Recession. It's worse on that metric. Jack Price. Good morning, Sticks. I'm finally up early enough to catch you live. Clank. Sebastian Monroe. Do the dumb war pigs forget that Russia is next to Alaska? Do they want to risk bombers flying over the Bering Strait? I wouldn't want a new front. We don't have to worry about risking that probably, but Moscow can use this as diplomatic leverage. Certainly, if you want Putin's bloc to shatter and turn its backs on him, the way to do that is not to have U.S. troops marching around in even Western Ukraine, because then it looks like you're more of an interested party than just, hey, we're interested in selling you a bunch of weapons. It looks like it's escalation. It'll be taken by as that and used for propaganda by people in the Eastern Bloc. JDA 79, smoke weed every day. I haven't used weed in more than a decade, and I'm in the fucking Netherlands, so. Opinionated junkie, sick as a dog. Keep up the entertainment. Well, I hope you feel better soon. Oh yeah, the next news story is funny. Stephen King weighing in with all of his acumen, of course, on the Twitter acquisition. $20 a month to keep my blue check? Fuck that. They should pay me. If that gets instituted, I'm gone like Enron. I've archived this for when it does get instituted. He will not leave Twitter, is my prediction, because he just wants to bitch and moan. He's not writing books really anymore, so this is his outlet to the world. He doesn't have to worry about writing books because he can just make tweets. Mean tweets. Shouldn't he be banned for that? I'm sure that Donald Trump seems to have been. And he's weighing in. People are saying, DJ Kansas says, that's a bit odd. You can well afford it because $20 a month. Dude, Stephen King makes $20 in fucking 10 minutes probably on royalties. It ain't the money, it's the principle of the thing. And he repeats himself, replying to multiple individuals there. Elon Musk himself decided to respond. Personally, if I were Elon Musk, I would ignore him. I would make it clear. I don't give a shit if somebody who was, famous 30 years ago happens to be on the platform. Normal everyday users enjoy the dumpster fire so much that your particular input is not worth any more than theirs. And by the way, Stephen King does have an outsizedly large audience and engagement, but you cobble together a few independent content creators and they've got the same audience. So, who is he fooling that he's particularly outsizedly relevant on Twitter as a platform? Elon Musk. We need to pay the bill somehow. Twitter cannot rely entirely on advertisers. How about $8? So he's bargaining Stephen King down how much he'd be willing to pay per month. I guess the blue checkmark crowd, will be treating on that a little bit as well separately, is up in arms right now over the idea of their absolutely perfect and precious blue check marks being taken away. Oh my God, I have to pay money. Little people will have blue check marks of verification because Twitter will become pay to play. I think it's actually a good model. Look, if you want to continue making tweets and you're not paying anything, you've got a free account, that's fine. You can still go viral. You're still participating in the public square. That's okay. As opposed to having Twitter handpick people who are verified and amplifying them, why not make it requisite on them paying a little bit of money so that you can recoup some of the loss on Twitter? It sort of makes sense. I don't see that as a problem. I'd probably be willing to pay $20 a month. Why the hell not? At least the person at the helm isn't a total shit fuck. And I'm not part of the Elon worship cult or anything like that, but he can't possibly do worse than the Twitter board did. Caleb Arbor, RCP projection now has New Hampshire Senate as a GOP pickup and Washington Senate a toss-up. I am cautiously optimistic about one of those races. Hint, it's Washington. New Hampshire is definitely a stretch, but it is possible. The fact that we're talking about possible GOP pickups in states other than the initial slew that were competitive before, so Nevada and Arizona and stuff, The Democrats are angry right now. They're very, very scared. We'll be talking about various poll-related things over the course of this live stream. Mr. Grimm, I'm pretty sure those soldiers are going to be thrown under the bus if things go south. Yeah, well, they'll be dead. Alex VG, how can the U.S. think about the ROI on our investment in Ukraine? In my opinion, we'll never get it back. Unlike Iraq, this time we should go for the resources. No, that's a bad idea, because then the United States gets condemned. Part of diplomacy is having a little bit of restraint. Let Russia overstretch. They're already, supposedly, according to every Western media source, they're getting the shit beat out of them on the battlefield, and half their tanks have been dragged off by tractors. Why the hell should we then even worry about a few Stinger missiles ending up on the black market? Why do you care? Especially when the person in charge of that particular investigative body is saying that there's no evidence that anything's going wrong. We're just checking up, everyone. Don't worry about it. It's out of an abundance of caution. E100 Omega 123. I can't even afford buying a 90K house. Good to see we have 18 plus billion in weapons to dump in Ukraine, though. I just wish that I could buy a Stinger missile. That sounds fun. You know, use it for garden defense. The Gophers are at it again. They won't be for long. BW, God, the midterms are never going to get here. I knew they were going to start a war to stay in power. Don't worry, it's not going to affect the U.S. midterms. Nova Sim Pilot Sticks, have you learned how to ride a bicycle yet? No, I'm not even trying because I know better. If I get a bike, it's going to have an extra wheel on the front, and it's going to have a thing for groceries or for carrying the baby around. And I've got it's plausible deniability because I do have a child. And so if I have the Babbo thing on the front, the fucking hipster bike, nobody can blame me. That's the wonderful thing. Thank you, my child. Sean Soto, hey Sticks, finally get to Super Chat. Just moved and great to hear your news while unpacking. Any thoughts on Santeria and Aruba? Many blessings to you. Santeria, motherfucker. Yeah, look up the satanic racist soundboard prank sometime if you want to hear more about Santeria. My thoughts on it? It's spooky woo, just like offshoot religious movements and spiritual movements. JD 1989, this mission creep escalation in Ukraine is just another Gulf of Tonkin incident waiting in the rafters. Operation Northwoods, anyone? Yeah, sending U.S. troops out to check on weapons that you yourself, as this individual is, are stating that there's no evidence of any illegal sales, nothing illicit going on. If you don't have evidence, why are you sending the troops out? Talk about handing the Russians a bunch of fucking propaganda, by the way. Mr. Wonderful, Russia has more diesel than it can ever use in any conflict. Step forward another nation that can claim that. USA, not so fast. Yeah, the USA could claim that if we had continued with our pro-energy policies under Trump for his administration. Unfortunately, Joe Biden is anti-energy and anti-American, by the way. Randall, love your work, Sticks. You should visit Australia. I would love to sometime. God, imagine the cool food you can get there. I want to chop the head off a fear snake and eat that. Salty Ironworker, is this admin trying to get troops killed in Ukraine to use it to their advantage? I don't think so, but I worry that it's possible. I'll leave it at that. Crazy Loon, hey Sticks, where do you place H.H. Holmes on the list of serial killers? Holmes. I think that at the top, you've got Albert Fish. You've got John Wayne Gacy. You've got, what's his name there? The Green River Killer and a few others. By body count or by, complete insanity. I don't know about Holmes. I'll create a list of serial killers. Like I'll do like the top 10 or something like that. Evan Valenta, hey, Sticks, a hell of a timeline we shifted into. Good luck to you and yours. Keep up the good work. Peace out. Thank you. Sticks' shirt from yesterday. I'm back for an encore. Send me your requests. Sebastian Monroe, speaking of bikes, explain to chat that Amsterdammers throw their bikes into the canal. I knew they're litter bugs, but hot damn, they needed a barge. I have seen bikes sticking out of the canals. To be clear, when I was in Demon, I did see that on several occasions. The bike stops working properly because it's, it hit a rock the wrong way or something. It gets damaged. Yeah, it can end up in the canal. And they have trucks with little cranes on the back with which they extract shit from the canals. Not just that, though. Shopping carts, beds, furniture of various kinds, piles of cans and plastic. I do have to say that the Netherlands is a great country. I like it here. It's overall very clean. There's gardens everywhere. It's wonderful. The one thing, though, the Dutch are terrible litter bugs. You will see broken bottles and cans and shit scattered around everywhere, and you don't need to be in a major urban area to see this, by the way. I think it's because there's a more beefy, like, centralized system to pick up trash. And so I guess people figure, hey, if I throw the Heineken can on the side of the sidewalk because I'm too lazy to bring it 2 blocks to the next drop-off zone or something, somebody will just pick it up anyway, so it doesn't matter. Fatal Money, thanks for the call out. Last time I got 25 new people. Can I get it again? I make financial content. Today's Fed says new rate hike and 1114 is CPI. We've got Fatal Money there giving himself a shout out. He got 25 subscribers the last time, so let's give him a good return on investment. The Michelangelo, repetitive historical narratives support religious folklore, in my opinion. Also, veteran of OIF OND. Check Army Reg 671 that has included 2 more operations post-Iraq. Will 101st Airborne get combat patches? I don't know. I've never been in the military, so I don't know half of what you're referring to. Sorry about that. I'm not a veteran. Could have been. Thought about going into the Coast Guard. That would be kind of cool. You know, you get to pick up narcos and shit, and you stay closer to home, generally speaking. There is Coast Guard on the Great Lakes. That would have been fun. Then you get Edmund Fitzgeralded or something like that. And whoops, as the 20-foot wave is coming towards your clipper. You're like, oh, well, I guess maybe I should have just fucking joined the Marines or something. Crazy Loon, Holmes was the murder castle guy. Yeah, I have heard of him. He built a bunch of like false rooms and panels and shit and like a hotel or some shit. I can't remember the wasn't it San Francisco? I think. I could be completely wrong. But yeah, he killed a bunch of people and was, you know, woo. I still say Albert Fish was the most messed up. And Gacy overall, like as far as if you're going to balance body count with messed upness, I think Gacy would be near the top. The killer clown, of course. Mr. Graham, inflation in the U.S. sounds like Allende period on Chile. Hopefully you'll have a Pinochet to give commies free rides. I didn't say it, you did. Fit and Fire, hey Sticks, love your work. Trying to build an audience on new tech like you to supplement YouTube. Could you help me increase my filler count on Rumble with a shout out? We have Fit and Fire. He operates on Rumble, and you can subscribe to them. So yeah, you bought a shout out too. I guess my new source of income, people shouting themselves out on my live streams. It's, by the way, okay with me. PWN Tang, who is your favorite press secretary? Karine Jean-Pierre or Circleback Saki? They both have their positive points because they're both cringy. I think that Jean-Pierre is actually more well-spoken than Saki was, honestly. Ironically, it's an improvement. The one thing that improved about the Biden admin is they can Jen Psaki. She's too busy making shitposts on Twitter now to do anything else, too. Hismanai, Happy Clank. Rob S., at what point would they remove Biden from office because of mental health? What do they need him to do? At this point, I don't think that anything is going to cause that to happen. At least not until after the midterms. Next, we have Biden's approval. We'll talk about that briefly here. This is fairly important. Keep in mind that if the president of the United States has about middling approval going into the midterms, they typically still lose House seats. Maybe not a Senate seat. Maybe they hold their own there, gubernatorial matches, either or, but they still lose House seats. Guess how far underwater Joe Biden is right now? His approval in the aggregate, we're using RCP, is just shy of 43. Disapproval is pushing 55, and by the way, is rising again right before the midterms. The gap is almost 12 points. The Democrats are going to get buried. There is no longer any time, in my opinion, for the Democrats to make up for their recent losses. His disapproval is ticking up. It's by about 1.5 points over the last couple of weeks. That's, you know, not huge, but it is significant this close to midterms. You've got early voting and mail-in voting results. The Republicans are outperforming expectations as far as the registries go. You have an outsized youth vote in some states, but it tends to be in states that are already not particularly competitive. Like in Georgia, you have some leftoid was bragging about this earlier. You have a 1 point rise in the under 30 voting demographic in Georgia for the election so far. Who gives a damn? The youth votes at the lowest possible rates anyway, so a 1% increase is absolutely meaningless. What is that? 5,000 votes? 6,000, something like that, considering the tiny number of people in that block that vote to begin with. No, the elderly that they keep targeting with their Republicans will screw you over on Social Security and Medicare. They're going to destroy you. That doesn't seem to be working either. You look at Florida's numbers. Between early and mail-in voting, the Republicans have a fairly significant advantage. They're not supposed to have an advantage in early and mail-in voting. Not even with the registration advantage. They're not supposed to have one. Numerically speaking, the Republicans should be at least slightly behind the Democrats in those numerics, even between the two of them going into Election Day. It's on Election Day itself when the Republicans tend to go and pull the lever and they vote in person on Election Day. It's more common among them. They'll have the advantage there. If they also have the advantage in early voting, and they're close to breaking even in mail-in voting in a state like Florida, and that will, I think, translate to many other states, that is dire for the Democrats. Miami-Dade County might end up going for the GOP. I don't know. Has it ever actually done that before? It's the first time in a long time, at the very least. Tyler M. Yesterday, a customer who owns Pixel Planet Arcade looked astonished and glazed that Pixel Planet, the game, existed. Said he'd send cease and desist. LMAO. I hope that's true. I really hope that's not just a joke. Ozzy's Robots, I'm jealous of all the shout-outs, so could I get a shout-out too? I probably started the trend, lol. I think you did, Ozzy. My museum should be open first week in December. If you ever come to Florida, I'll give you a private tour. So we've got Ozzy's Robots here. Yes, if I'm ever in Florida again, I will come and see your fucking museum. Trust me. Don't worry. There will be a meet and greet. I expect to see some cool shit, and then we'll have coffee, and I'll definitely keep my spoon in my mug. You'll have to supply me with the spoon because they would confiscate mine at the TSA line probably. So yeah, Joe Biden's approval still underwater, and there's no longer any time. There's 6 days left until midterms. It's impossible for the Democrats to have a surge at this point. The Paul Pelosi thing hasn't helped them. Their other purported, like the Herschel Walker bullshit, that hasn't hurt him. There's no more time. I hate to tell you, but the last round of polls will be sort of the finale. The Republicans will go into the election with a generic ballot advantage and a registry advantage and a turnout advantage at the same time. That's true. All three of these things look to stack up. What I said was that I expected, this was months ago, you'll remember maybe some of you that I predicted this. The GOP needs two of those things to be true to prevail and have a red wave. If all three are true, it'll be bigger. I'm probably underestimating GOP support at the moment. And my estimate of their support is still rather high. Over on Rumble, we have T-Finger. Keep it going, Sticks. Miss weekend sessions as the only ones I get come from you, Tim, and Breaking Points. Yeah, I can't do it 7 days a week. I just can't because I already do that with my editing and with my main videos and with the news crawling and taking care of a child. I just, I have a lot of stamina. I'm an ADHD dude. I tend to bounce back and forth between tasks all day. I constantly annoy people with my energy levels, but even I have limits. So I can't really do that unless there's major news. Rider of the Metal Horse, Twatter locked my account yesterday for unusual activity, which is BS because I've done the same as always and refuses to let me back on, it seems. Elon needs to hurry up with fixing this. That's happened to me several times before, and then you have to do verification bullshit. Jay Jarose, have you heard of Karen Kingston? She appeared on USAWatchdog.com. I highly recommend you check it out. And then there is a link there to a Rumble video that on Rumble I could mention, but I can't really mention on YouTube. So go over to Rumble and you can check out that link. And then a follow-up, and there is a BitChute video as well, which I'm assuming is to the same thing. So yeah, check it out if you're on Rumble. Oh, and then he sent another follow-up. Sorry, sent link with no description. The link is an interview of Todd Callender posted today by Mike Adams. It supports Karen Kingston's findings. And I can't read I apologize, the last part out because I am also live on YouTube. There will in the future be semi-regular Rumble and or other new tech site only streams, to be clear. My apologies. Safety and happiness. Do you believe in the second coming of Orange Jesus? If by that you mean Donald Trump, I think it's likely. I think he almost certainly runs. As for whether he gets the nomination, there's like a 90% chance or more. He might go basically, sweep every state as far as those states that even have voting at that point. As far as whether he wins, it's situational. We have to look at economic indicators, wars, and things like that to know for certain. The Grizzly, I tend to err on the side of caution when it comes to the Ukraine stuff, simply because I've seen the media lie too much, especially now that they have a vested interest in making Biden look like a good, competent leader. Yeah, for right now, before the midterms, they have to continue buckling down and pretending he's not fucking demented. The Grizzly, also, what do you think of the Twitter board getting caught with their hands in the cookie jar lying to Elon Musk? I think that they're going to file a lawsuit and lose, and I think he's going to laugh at them. Elements. Look at who Elon is communicating with to make policy decisions. I agree with Tim. He needs to be called out and have his feet held to the fire. Well, then, yeah, we should definitely do that, but I'm willing to give him a general benefit of the doubt, at least on most things. Sparky, Styx could have been a Coast Guard captain, Ahab, on Lake Champlain, obsessed with Champ as if he were Moby Dick. Yeah, I mean, I've always been kind of attracted to, like, the, seafaring and the aquatic thing. Like, a lot of the decor that's aquatic in nature, I've always really liked. Anything that's, like, submarine related too, like, shit like that. And it'd be kind of fun to live on the ocean and have a little dock and, putter around, maybe go fishing or something in the green water region. Yeah, that'd be really fun, actually. Michael Cricklow, how did your stuffed peppers turn out? They were delicious, actually. Tonight, we're having stampot, and then tomorrow I'm making my famous Greek pasta. Don't worry, I will describe that to people. There will be pictures, don't worry. Sebastian Monroe, on RCP, seeing a 0.2+ for Evers and +3 for Johnson. Barring any honking, would it carry flip Wisconsin Red, remove tyrannical Tony, and make Wisconsin great again? Yes, and we will be getting into more polls, don't worry. Fatal Money, lol, thank you, Styx. I promise I won't ask any more. I will say this, I live in Pennsylvania. If Pennsylvania votes for blue Governor Shapiro, I will leave Pennsylvania to Wyoming or Texas. Thoughts? The chances of you actually moving are remote, to be clear. I'm not insulting you. I'm just saying, when people say that, 99% of the time it doesn't happen. Because people afterwards are like, they're pissed off, but then you're like, well, it is still my home. I'm sort of used to it and stuff. Like, I'm from Vermont. I've thought about moving, to New Hampshire, which is basically the same thing. But other than that, Northern New England is still my home at the end of the day. I liked Texas when I was there, but, you get droughts, wild pigs, way better food, but, yeah, various problems there too. Mr. Wonderful, there's still 2 more years of the worst administration in history to go. By 2024, even CNN will be endorsing the Donald. Don't count on it. Unfortunately, they'll hold ranks. Gironin, clank you, Sticks, clanks a lot. Ozzy's Robots, imagine this, Biden is 25th, Kamala is installed, pivots right, throws leftoids under the bus, and runs as a moderate in 24. Strategically, it'd be sound. Yeah, but she doesn't have the intelligence to do that. That won't happen. Officer Maggot on Rumble, could you briefly explain the difference between Luciferian and Satanism? Is there a difference? What's a good place for a normie like myself to learn about this stuff? Satanism tends to be associated with the Church of Satan. It's atheistic. It's a mock-up of Catholicism, basically, more than anything else. LaVey died, and now it's run by Gilmore, I think, still. And these people are atheists, by and large, or at least agnostic. Luciferianism comes in different varieties. You have pagan Luciferianism, which is really Prometheanism. So you have symbols like the fallen angel, the rebel against God, the liberator, Enki from Sumerian lore, variously posited as figures to venerate, not necessarily in a theistic sense, but to be spoken of positively. You have atheistic Satanism technically is subject to Luciferianism overall. You have theistic Satanism. It gets confusing because these terms run together. As far as learning about this sort of thing, you could read like the Satanic Bible, and that's what the Church of Satan believes in. That would be fine. There's plenty of material on the internet, though. It's all over the place. Rider of the Metal Horse. You've said you believe in reincarnation. Do you believe in the soul and afterlife, or God or gods? If not, was there a time when you felt as there was no reason to live, and how did you reconcile that? I don't believe in an afterlife. I believe in life after life. I don't think there's some weird ethereal world beyond the physical realm. I think you stay in the physical realm, generally speaking. Although I've seen some shit, so I'm amenable to the concept of like David Chan as a scribe by theosophy. Other than that, not really. I'm apatheistic. I neither believe nor disbelieve in a god, gods, pantheon, etc. I don't care about that because it's just not a big thing to me. And I don't believe in a soul in the spiritual sense. I believe that there is a self beyond the self, but I don't give it a spiritual importance. I think it's subjugate to the same physical laws, technically speaking, that we simply don't fully comprehend. Yeah, there were plenty of times I didn't want to live. I just worked harder. Claws and Paws, Order of the Cat. I want to get rid of Gmail. Any suggestions? You can use, you can use Proton Mail. Although I tried to sign up, I had problems logging back in. I ended up abandoning Proton Mail. Grandpa Nurgle. Sounds like you've been teasing a pretty good Michael Jackson voice the last couple streams. Any chance of getting the full impersonation? As you can tell right now, probably not. I'm a little bit on the horse side. The weather keeps changing. It is extremely dry right now. Mopey Hornet. Hey, Sticks, you said you can't ride a bike in the past. Is there a story behind that? Just never could get the hang of it. I fall over if I get onto a bike. Adam THM. Sticks, how do you feel about state houses this election? Even if some Dems get the top job, will they maintain support from houses in these states? I think the Republicans will do just as well there. Sparky. It's troubling that the U.S. State Department backed Lula, and now big tech is beginning to censor anyone questioning Brazil's election. Who's been censored on that basis? I haven't seen that enforced yet. Next news story, how bad will Elon Musk's Twitter takeover be? My guess is he'll get bored of it. This is from Arwa Madawi on The Guardian. It seems inevitable. He'll allow more abuse and restore Trump's account. Oh my God, freak out. But it's still a niche platform most people don't use. Yes, now Twitter is a niche platform. So before it was, oh my God, we've got to oppose the takeover because otherwise Elon Musk controls all speech. Now it's just a little niche platform. Nobody cares about it and very few people actually use it. I wanted to point this out because it's a continuation of Musk derangement syndrome. That's basically what it is. The idea is that Elon Musk is going to take the platform, make it massively hellish. It's going to be filled with trolling and evil stuff, and Nazis will take root, and it'll be horrible. It'll be like all the people from Gab will come back to Twitter. We'll have to interact with their content because we're too stupid to understand how to mute somebody. That will not happen. And it's very, very interesting that these people continue with that lie, which is they know better. They're just calling for more censorship. What they're really concerned about is people like me having a voice. No, they don't want me to have a voice. They don't want you to have a voice. They want Azalea Banks to have a voice. They want Barack Obama to have a voice. They want the Occupy Dems and Midas Touch to have a voice, but they don't want you to speak out, at least not so anyone can hear you. A free and open public square is death to the far left. They will always lose the argument, the debate. Greentop LLC, I recommend Proton. You pay for it, write your password down. There is no recovery for security reasons. Had Proton for 3 years, tight encryption. Fatal Money. I was born in Cuba, immigrated to New Jersey, and then left New Jersey for political reasons to Pennsylvania. I have no ties to Pennsylvania. That's why I have YouTube and stocks for income. Oh, well, interesting. Yeah, I mean, if you're going to move to Wyoming or Texas or something, I would prefer Texas over Wyoming, I think. It's not a whole lot going on in Wyoming, to be clear. And why the fuck would you want to live in Cheyenne? It's a city. Uncultured Barbarian, I live in Wisconsin. The rural areas can't stand Evers. The 3 counties that vote blue screw the rest of the state. I think Evers is gone, though. It seems likely, my friend. Jesus Christ. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, ADHD, ADD. Where does it come from? Diet, etc. I would like your insight. Thank you, Clank. I see it as being normal. It's not normal for little kids, especially, not to be hyper and energetic. And some of us keep that energy up when we're older. I bounce around all fucking day. New jocular, stiffer sentences and pardons. Cheap capital? Yeah. Next news story. Faulty FBI data obscures successful defensive gun use. Yes, indeed. The numbers collated by the FBI and then put out as far as they absorb, material from the state law enforcement agencies, is missing some things. With crime such an important issue, Americans depend on the FBI for accurate data. I don't, but I guess some Americans do, supposedly. The crime data for 2021 is a mess, with almost 40% of law enforcement agencies around the country not submitting any data to the FBI. In California, 93% didn't report crime data. In New York, 87% didn't. Cities are embarrassed by the soaring crime rates that even when they have collected the data, they aren't transmitting the numbers to the FBI. But there are many more data errors than the directest responsibility of the FBI. Up until January of last year, I worked in the U.S. Department of Justice as the senior advisor for research and statistics. Part of my job was to evaluate the FBI's active shooting reports. I found that they were missing lots of cases and had misidentified others. Unfortunately, the FBI was unwilling to fix any of these errors. Since leaving that job, I have found many more missed cases, updating the list this month. So apparently, a fairly significant proportion of all the justified, that is defensive uses of firearms, they're not counted. And you don't even have full state data, so it doesn't even fucking matter if you did. This does not surprise me. It's another way for the federal government to try to hide reality from people and claim gun owners are evil. They go around shooting people. Guns aren't really generally used for defensive purposes, even though the vast majority of usages against a person are defensive in nature. And so they want to obscure this. It's a lie by omission when you really think about it. Coffee Slayer. Sticks, I'm a longtime fan, first-time super chatter. However, I may point out that the U.S. Has had boots on the ground now for months in Ukraine. Clank. Yes, but now they're doing active weapons checking. So it has escalated. Otis Bontrager, 18-wheeler here. Thanks for all the work you do. Between you, Stephen Crowder, Timcast, and Rcast, you keep me sane on the road. I'm glad for that. Rumble, writer of the Metal Horse. Did you give Twatter your phone number? I don't trust them not to misuse it and have me doxxed. I can't remember. I don't think so. I don't think I ever gave that to him. I think I did something else to verify. I can't remember. Bobby Broadway, Sabatian Frankist, Jacob Frank. Any info on where to get info? I got nothing. Someone you may know. What time are you starting your election live stream? Trying to plan out my evening. Thanks. I will probably be starting an hour or a half an hour before the Eastern Coast results start trickling in, and probably go for 4 hours or so. So we'll get a good indicator from the East Coast, pretty good indicator from the Central region, and you'll get some preliminary numbers, maybe like exit polling shit from the Rocky Mountain region. We don't need to worry about the West Coast. I am sad that I'll miss the Oregon gubernatorial results and the Washington Senate results and a few others, but I'm not going to be able to stay up later than that. I'll probably have to take like a 4 or 5 hour nap beforehand in the middle of the day and force myself to sleep. Keep in mind, I'm in an entirely different time zone, so for me, it'll be the middle of the night. Garrett, I carry every day and will continue to do so. Good. Pim Tool, sticks in a shirt is someone I'd send super chat to. Sir Zorg, please look into Jim Brown versus Gustafson for Montana Supreme Court. I'm worried about shenanigans from the city of Butt. Ha ha ha, it's the city of Butt. Ha ha, like an asshole. Ultramaga721 on Rumble. How ironic that Paul Pelosi was attacked by a lefty BLM LGBTQ plus hemp jewelry making illegal alien. Now, Dems, does this finally hit home? Pun intended. Yeah, he's really a total Ultramaga. There's a reason I have this shirt on, by the way. Now we have a big story, and this is a Slate article. Now, of course, Slate, nobody gives a damn. This is a leftist rag. Here's what they say. A red wave could be headed for New York. Blame Andrew Cuomo. This is exactly the kind of Cope article that I analyzed a couple of months ago when they wrote off Stacey Abrams, and I think that was Slate too. They said, look, Stacey Abrams, regardless of what happens in the gubernatorial race, because they know she's going to fucking lose. Kemp is like 7-8 points ahead in the aggregate. She's never been ahead in any poll. I don't even think she's gotten tied with him in any poll. They know she's going to lose, so they say, well, she's written several books. She does a lot of activism for BLM and racial causes and women's rights. And it's a Cope article. This is the same exact kind of Cope, again, I think from the same journalistic tabloid rag. Slate effectively saying, look, yeah, it's possible that Lee Zeldin will actually take the gubernatorial slot in New York. Yeah, it's possible that Hochul will lose. If you have outsized turnout, she probably will. I'm just not willing to predict that yet. I want more polling. I want like 5 more polls from New York. I'll probably get 2 if I'm lucky. Then I have to fly blind, like a benzo-addicted Korean War soldier or something like that. But blame Andrew Cuomo. Very interesting. So if Hochul sucks as a candidate, she sucked in the debate against Zeldin. She's overseeing a state that's in shambles because of higher crime and all sorts of other problems. You've got the NIMBYism of New York City specifically, although that's not directly related to her, over migrants from Venezuela and elsewhere getting shipped in from Texas. She's done a shitty job, but blame the dude that came before. It's Andrew Cuomo's fault. This is a preemptive cope for if she loses. That's exactly what this article is. It's to prepare people about that possibility. They would not be making this kind of cope article unless they thought there was a real big risk that Hochul actually manages to lose. That would be the big story of the night. If Lee Zeldin does win by any margin whatsoever against Hochul in New York as governor, it will be the news of the night. Fuck the Senate. That's more meaningful in the legal sense. Optically, this is the race to watch. I consider it a loss for Hochul at this point if she doesn't win by at least 5 points. And I don't think that she will. I think it'll be closer than that. So yeah, blame the dude that's not actually in office if the person that is in office loses. Totally his fault. It's not hers. Silva Luca, any advice on what a doomer could do besides vote? Knock on doors, self-improvement. The political winds shift. One time it might be better than the other. But you can always gain a new skill. You can always, you know how to grow food. Well, learn how to cook it. You don't know how to grow food. Well, learn it. Pick up a new language. You can study that shit on the internet very easily for free. Find something that's serviceable and potentially something that can make you money that you enjoy at least reasonably, and plow away at it. Lift weights. Clean your penis. Jesse Miller at the Crow's Nest. Elephant in the Room. First time I've seen you wear a t-shirt. What's the deal? I've worn t-shirts on streams before. Edward Brandt sent $5. No comment, thank you. Durr0694. So the CDC's old report of 500,000 to 3 million defensive uses of firearms a year is even greater in reality, as opposed to about 30,000 gun deaths a year? Health crisis, my ass. Yeah, their numbers are wrong. Goldie Lush, big fan, wrote a song about woke Republicans. Check it out. It's called DWR. Okay, you have Goldie Lush on YouTube. You can check out their song. The Grizzly. There's a lot I like about Tim Pool, but I think he's wrong on a few core issues. I think Trump is our best choice, not DeSantis. I do agree with that. I don't believe the U.S. is going to boogaloo. I agree. And the world is going to end every 5 seconds. Yes, he's a little, I think he's more black-pilled than I am. I think he's more of a pessimist, whereas I'm more of an optimist. I like the dude. I like his content. There are a few issues on which we disagree about. Mr. Wonderful, I remember when Iran captured and held a U.S. Navy crew without any fuss a couple of years back. It's possible these troops in Ukraine are being set up. Possible. Next news story, funny. The ACLU is actually calling out the DHS leaks. Now, this is the woke ACLU. They no longer really tend to stand for American civil liberties. They've decided to jettison gun owners, for example. They did that very openly after, I can't remember which shooting it was, Parkland or something. They don't always stand for the First Amendment. Even they are calling out DHS right now. I said the other day, the DHS leaks thing is a super scandal. It is the utterly unconstitutional undermining of Americans' free speech. Doesn't involve criminal speech. It doesn't involve scamming people or terrorism or anything, just political opinions based on the concept that the government needs to get the big tech firms to fight disinformation. It is violating the constitutional rights of Americans in so doing. When the ACLU, which has gone further and further left, is not willing to defend a Democratic administration and calls them out a goddamn week before the midterms, you know that it's a big story. I think there's a reason why almost 100,000 people watched that fucking video. Michael D'Angelo. How will Elon at the helm of Twitter affect Trump's Truth Social? Truth still isn't available on Android, which leaves out many from accessing his truths. I'm left out because I'm not in the US or Canada. Truth Social has fallen flat fundamentally. It's a good idea, but the carry through was not done properly. I think that Trump would be wise to get back on Twitter at some point. Cut your own company loose. It's perfectly fine if they continue on, partnered with Rumble, et cetera, that's perfectly fine. Let locals absorb it or something like that. Rumble and locals have the money probably to do so. Get back on Twitter now that you're capable of doing so, and wreck some more ceramic. Be like a bull in a china shop, dude. That's what I'm talking about. So yeah, the ACLU is calling out Biden now. So it's all over for him as a legit president. Steward, in my opinion. Next, we have Joe Biden continue again, devolving into the Joe Biden gaffe channel. But first, let me see how many people are watching live, by the way. It's got about 5,300, almost 2,000 people watching live on Rumble right now. They pin it to the front page or something? That's a bit higher than normal. Anyway, we've got to talk about Biden's latest gaffe. And for the first time in his presidency, let us celebrate. Yes. No, well, technically, November 1st is when he did this. I'm in a different time zone. I can't help it. For the first time in Joe Biden's miserable existence, he managed to make 2 gaffes in the same paragraph. Major ones, too. He was talking about inflation. Now, the first thing that he references here, link in the description, it's a video clip, so it's not archived. Just go and watch it. It's 30 seconds long. It won't take time out of your day. Firstly, he lies and says that inflation is the result of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. First gaffe was that, though, he didn't use the term Ukraine at first. He said the war in Iraq. Whoops. Yeah. Okay. Joe, Iraq and Ukraine are actually the same country. I know you think about those people and you think they're all identical, but they don't actually have the same borders or the same resources or the same fucking problems. He corrected himself, but then he made another gaffe or a lie. It's not entirely clear. He said, well, I was thinking about Iraq because that's where my son died. No, he didn't, though. He was in the war in Iraq. He died stateside in a military hospital of a brain tumor. He did not die in Iraq. To be clear, Bo Biden, the son that doesn't smoke crack, the son that actually appears to the one good member of the fucking family ends up dying when he's in his 20s. It's Biden's fate. No, I mean, usually you have like a gaffe a week or 2 gaffes a week. More recently, it's become more like a gaffe every day or every other day. And this wasn't even the only mistake that he made that day. So at this point, I'm at a loss for words. Apparently, I need an extra channel just to make shorts about Joe Biden doing crazy shit. I'm actually considering that because why the hell not? But this is the first time that he's managed to work 2 major gaffes in with the same basic statement. Again, it's a 30-second clip. I mean, come on, dude. Oh, Bo Biden was actually older than that? Oh, okay. Well, I know he was in a logistics role, I think, as well. And it's possible, by the way, that Bo Biden did get a brain tumor from depleted uranium or something he was exposed to in the military, some chemical agent. It's possible, although we can't prove that. But your son did not die in Iraq, or necessarily as the result of the war in Iraq. We don't know that for a fact. Biden keeps returning to it. It's like as he gets more demented, he's getting more and more nostalgic for the son that died because the one that lived is such a fuck up. And so he just can't stop thinking about him. Now he thinks Ukraine is in the Middle East. JW's Garage. To be fair and not jump to conclusions with the Pelosi story, I'm waiting 10 days to see who gets monkeypox. Darius Harvey. OMG, a regular shirt. First time seeing it. Lol. Yeah, I'm going to get a suit and I'm going to wear this underneath. Dr. Zaodin, I'm getting huge amounts of notice on Rumble. I'm here on the YouTube just to inform you. I have not gotten a single notice this week on YouTube. That may change soon. A little birdie told me that if you hit 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, magically the algorithms ease up off you. And Clankton's about 1,500 subs away from that. Could happen before midterms. By the way, to those of you watching on YouTube, I do appreciate it if you share out the material, the channel link, etc., to other people and tell them about my existence. We're very, very close to 500,000 goddamn subscribers on the platform. That's significant. That's definitely going to be a celebratory day. In fact, it may happen during the midterm live stream. I guess I should get some of those little popper things. You pull them, they go, pooh, and there's confetti and shit. I should probably get one of those just in case that happens. Grandpa Nurgle, happy Day of the Dead. Hydrogen Atom, do you think protectionism has a role in the libertarian school of thought? Not generally speaking, no. But if another nation is violating free trade, then it's okay to counterbalance. Ultramaga721 Sticks, I'd love to see you, Tim Pool, Steven Crowder, Anthony Bryan Logan, and Tucker Carlson come together and do a true news forum. That would kick ass. Any possibility? I think their audiences are all considerably larger than mine. I'm not sure I'd be invited to that party, actually. And then the final news of the day, of course, we're going to do a little bit of light poll analysis. We do have new polls. Fox News poll, Wisconsin Senate, Johnson versus Barnes. Johnson up by 2. He is also up by 3 overall in the aggregate. This is potentially a competitive race. The Democrats have been targeting it, so Republican incumbent. It looks like it's out of their hands. Wisconsin governor, also a Fox poll. Michels +1. That's Evers versus Michels. The Democratic incumbent governor of Wisconsin is within 0.2 of his rival. The latest two polls show Michels up by a point. This is a 50-50 race, and I think that in most 50-50 races, the GOP will take it, but it's Wisconsin. This is not a fully defortified state. By the way, please don't send any more super chats. We're going up on 50 minutes, and I do have other stuff that I have to do later. We have Arizona Senate, Masters versus Kelly. Now, keep in mind, I don't think Blake Masters has ever led in a poll. However, it's getting closer and closer and closer. And again, the gap is now 2.3. The gap was in almost double digits a couple of months ago. I think that Blake Masters conceivably could win here. I think the Libertarian candidate just dropped out and endorsed him. And then Liz Cheney endorsed Mark Kelly. But her endorsement is a poison pill. Nobody wants Liz Cheney's endorsement. So I think, again, that's close to a 50-50, the AZ Senate, possible Republican pickup. AZ Governor, Lake versus Hobbs. Yes, Carrie Lake on the short list for a future presidential contender. Lake is now up by almost 3 points. The last time that there was a poll that showed her opponent up was several weeks ago. It was Susquehanna, and it was by 1 point. Everything since then has been advantage Lake, other than the New York Times Siena poll showing a tie. But however, they put out a bunch of other polls at the same time in which that poll was a massive outlier in favor of the Dems. I'm thinking that their methodology might have been a little bit screwy on the questions they were asking. Big one here. Well, actually, two big ones. And there's two polls for the second one. We have Nevada. Nevada's going red, I think. Lombardo is ahead of Sisolak, the Dem incumbent for the gubernatorial slot, by 2 points, according to a Susquehanna poll. You have increasingly Lombardo ahead. The gap is only 1.5, but it's, I think, beefy enough. Otherwise, you have to argue that the Democrats are going to have higher turnout with lower registrations. And I don't think that that's possible physically. And then the Nevada Senate, of course, Laxalt versus Cortez Masto. You have a slight widening of Laxalt's lead. It's almost 2 points now. Again, I believe this will be a GOP Senate pickup. Nevada has mostly defortified. You have a bunch of other polls here. Most of them aren't so interesting, other than we've already discussed the generic ballot. The GOP's up by about 3 points. By the way, this is exactly what I predicted they would end up leading by in the final results. It looks like with less than a week out to go, I'll be pretty close to that mark. A 3-point swing in the end towards the GOP in any of these competitive races gives them those races. It's impossible to surmount. Because if you add a 2 or 3 point lead to that 3 points, you're getting up there. 5 points is a pretty beefy lead. 5 points is, hey, I've got a 90% chance of prevailing. The Democrats will be lucky at this point, I think, if they maintain Pennsylvania. I think that their biggest shot of maintaining one of the competitive Senate seats is with Fetterman, which is very, very ironic since he's literally brain damaged. The reason why? Pennsylvania never defortified. I'll let you read into my statement what you will. I can't say anything more about that. We're on a YouTube live stream. And now we have a few last super chats, and then I'll go off. The Grizzly, how long until the lame stream starts declaring the actual alt-right and misinfo for daring to oppose the glory of our democracy? Yeah, I think they already do that, so. Anamender Rake, is Theosophy just westernized Hinduism? No, it draws also from Buddhism, Christianity to an extent, Judaism, even elements of mystic Islam, among other things. It's an amalgamation sort of path. Falvey Pollard, straight up dog. Ozzy's Robots, you think anything will come of Bolsonaro's audit? I have no clue whatsoever what's going to happen in Brazil. All hell could break loose in Brazil. It's happened with Dilma. The people there could toss Lula out of office and lynch him, potentially. I don't know what'll happen. I do support the right of the people to protest, though, and I do not believe that any socialist regime can ever be legitimate. So, again, I have to leave it at that if we're on YouTube. To be clear, if I were there, I'd definitely vote for Bolsonaro if I were Brazilian, mainly because I want the economy to at least kind of function. Anyway, I think I'm going to go off now. Again, pushing 6,000 live viewers, almost 2,000 over on Rumble. If you're not following me on that platform, you should. And please do share out on YouTube, the channel link as well. We are painfully close to 500,000 subscribers. At that point, if the algorithms back off, you're going to see Clankdom soar twice as fast. I think that'd be a good thing for the world, especially going into the 24 election. I have no doubt that by the end of the year, we'll have clinched that particular number regardless. That's about all. Peace out.